On this episode of Lapeef, Let's Talk.
How can I say this? Men can do as necessary to protect themselves, and women, we do as necessary to protect men and ourselves as well. Example being what Courtney said, having her nurse come in when she has a male doctor. In my culture, we can't have male doctors at all. At all. It doesn't matter what it is. No men are to be checking our bodies at all as females. That's one way. Another way, I mean, another thing about this is that in America, I think that men should have the right to do as necessary to protect themselves. I don't think that men should be restricted in any way to protect themselves. If a woman steps in the arena as a man, she can be treated as a man. I don't think that there should be any rules saying that men can't do this or you can't defend yourself against a woman because as we've seen now, women take advantage of it. And as for the court systems, like you all know, I'm completely against how the court system is set up currently. So, yeah, there's a lot that needs to be changed.
Courtney, as men, we are taught how to treat women, but not how to protect ourselves from women. What are your thoughts about it?
I think Lead summed it up. He's absolutely right. Men are not taught how to protect themselves um, as far as with marriage, divorcing, if that were to happen. Um, hell, going through the system and fighting for custody, child support, they're not taught these things. And they need to be. In order to be a provider, we teach men how to provide for their family and, level up and all this. But just in case something were to happen or, if some woman was to do something, they're not taught that. I have a friend that plays football, NFL. And I asked him, I was like, well, how are you able to differentiate between the women that are, like you or just there for you for the money? And he was like, no, I know how to protect myself from those particular type of women. And that's important. And I wanted to make sure with him because that's my guy. And I'm like, okay, well, you have to differentiate yourself from the thoughts that's going to try to get a baby out of you and get a check from the women that really like you. And how do you know? And he was like, no, I was taught that. So it's important. Men have to be taught how to protect themselves from women because especially if you're up here, not even if you're not, there's women that are conniving and deceiving. And you have to learn how to protect yourselves.
I don't think that there is a blueprint to protect ourselves. That's the problem.
It's not a blueprint to protect anything. There's not a blueprint of how to protect your heart. There's not a blueprint of how to get over someone. There's not a blueprint of, they're trying to scam me. It's not. It's life, but it's looking at, okay, so this are the characteristics of this. This is, a red flag. This is something that you need to look out for. These are some questions that you should have. This is a prenup that you should put in to protect yourself.
Listen, but what we're talking about is treating. We're not just talking about marriage. We're not just talking about, listen, by default, society is advocating for all women to be believed, regardless of whether or not she's telling the truth, if she accuses a man of doing something. We are largely leaning on this whole narrative. For example, we have countless examples every single day. No matter what your friend tell you, it's a lot of dudes that's in college every single day that lose their scholarships. They get kicked out of school just based off of the accusation of a woman saying that he did something to her. And even when he gets it's proven that he didn't do anything, nothing happens to the woman, first and foremost. And then secondly, he don't get his scholarship back. His reputation is already ruined. His whole life, the trajectory of his life is already changed. So my point is that there is nothing that you can teach men how to protect themselves, really. Like there is no blueprint. Whereas when you talk about women, they continue to advocate for them. They say all women are supposed to be believed. All of them. You guilty before being proven innocent as a man just by walking around by default. If a man hit a woman, I don't know where it's at everywhere else, or if there's a domestic dispute and a man gets accused of anything physical, even if he did it or not, he got to go and sit in jail for 3 days. 3 days is the default. Ain't
Well,
no getting out. Ain't no
right.
pass go.
Well,
You get $200. Ain't none of that. So my point is that
okay.
I don't think that it's just got to be a radical shift. I mean, and I don't think that it'll ever happen because too many powerful people has an incentive for this to continue to go forward. And I just don't think I don't think that there's ever going to be a system in place or an environment where a man is truly protected in this day and age that we live in. It's unfathomable for me.
Well, I would definitely say this because I mean I can't say that there's laws or whatever as far as with how to men protect themselves from women, but these are the ideas of having platforms or having mentorship. Like even on this platform, we talk about discipline. That's men protecting themselves from women for having discipline.
Listen.
That is a
As a
protection.
man in corporate
Even
America, as a man that was in corporate America at the highest level, at the executive level, we could not. Do you know that guys had to institute a policy amongst ourselves, not HR, not nothing, that we don't even go into a room and close the door to have a conversation with a female colleague because it is Me Too movement.
Yes.
We can't even have a conversation without making sure that we have somebody else in there as a witness. And that's beyond even trying to protect ourselves. That's just basic human decency. If somebody believing something and me being in a position of power and automatically getting everything stripped away from me as a result of being in the wrong position with somebody that's having the wrong intention, and just because she don't have a dick between her legs, they automatically believe her. That's crazy. There is no protection for men. We can't even have this conversation in good faith.
But do you not
go
see
respond, Courtney, and then we'll go to Amir.
But do you not see that you guys doing that is how, hey, we understand how the legal system is. You have to do this to protect yourself. These are the steps that you have to do to protect yourself. Like even me and my doctor, you know, I have a male doctor. When I go get my pap smear, I have to have the nurse in there. It's, you know, these are what we have to do to protect men. So it's a fallacy to say there. I mean, we understand the laws in the Me Too movement, i.e. the feminism wave before-ish, but it's, you know, we are putting things in order to protect men. So guess what? Your doctor, to give you a pap smear, it will have a female nurse there. This is what, it's not to protect me. It's to protect my doctor so I can't say anything. Even with you in the corporate area, it wasn't to protect that woman. It was to protect y'all. So it is some things that men are having to come up with and be creative with to make sure in the essence of the Me Too movement that they are protected.
All right. Crazy. Amir, coming to you next.
Okay, so the question is, men are
taught how to treat, as men, we are taught how to treat women, but not how to protect ourselves from women.
Okay. So can I bring up two things? Culturally, from my culture, as you know, there are no limits to, how can I say this? Men can do as necessary to protect themselves, and women, we do as necessary to protect men and ourselves as well. Example being what Courtney said, having her nurse come in when she has a male doctor. In my culture, we can't have male doctors at all. At all. It doesn't matter what it is. No men are to be checking our bodies at all as females. That's one way. Another way, I mean, another thing about this is that in America, I think that men should have the right to do as necessary to protect themselves. I don't think that men should be restricted in any way to protect themselves. If a woman steps in the arena as a man, she can be treated as a man. I don't think that there should be any rules saying that men can't do this or you can't defend yourself against a woman, because as we've seen now, women take advantage of it. And as for the court systems, like you all know, I'm completely against how the court system is set up currently. So yeah, there's a lot that needs to be changed.